welcome to How to Run a Successful Business and Still Have a Life. My name is Stacey Morgan, and today's episode is brought to you by Simply Business Accelerator. Our June intake is all about goals and work-life balance. If you're a mum that's running their own business and wondering how you can get more control over that work-life juggle, then please join us for Simply Business Accelerator. You can enroll now at simplystaceymorgan.com. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about customer problems. Of course, we all know the easiest way to sell to our customers our product or service is by identifying the problem that they have and how we solve it. But so many times in small business, it's really easy for us to forget that we're actually talking to a customer. We forget to use the language that they use in their day-to-day life, and instead we use our jargony language to identify the problem and how we're solving it. Or sometimes we forget to talk about the problem at all. Today, we're going to talk about some of the principles that underlie the story brand framework that Donald Miller is so famous for. Of course, I am one of 3 of Australia's Business Made Simple business coaches. And in the Business Made Simple framework that also includes story brand, Donald talks about the importance of identifying the external problems that your customer has, but also those internal problems as well. But let's start by talking about the communication and messaging when it comes to your customers' problems. It's not just enough to be able to say, I've got a small business and this is what I sell, come on down. It's really important, especially in a really crowded marketplace, of which many of us are, that we really, really know exactly who our customer is. And we talked about that in a previous episode. But in addition to that, it's really important that we understand exactly what problem we are solving for our customer. And we'll talk a little bit more about internal problems and external problems in a minute. But I want you to have a think now about your website. I want you to think about the copy that goes into your local magazine. I want you to think about the social media posts that you're doing for your business. In these, are you talking about your customer's problem, or are you simply just raving about your service or product? Have a flick through your phone now if you happen to be out walking. Please don't be flicking through your phone if you're listening to this while you're driving, or just picture in your mind your website and the front page of your website and think about whether or not you are solving your customers' problems there. Because it's not just enough for you as the business owner to know exactly what your customers' problems are in your head and for you to have thought about that in the initial process of putting together your product or service. It's super important to also be communicating that with your audience all the way through your communications. So not just on your website, not just in your newsletter, but also in all of your social media posts, in the conversations you're having with your customers. And it's really important that that is a follow through that happens for your business, not just in the early days, but throughout. When it comes to solving your customers' problems, we want to talk about not just the external problems, but also the internal problems as well. Because people, of course, buy solutions to internal problems. That internal frustration that they have that they really want solved, if you can put that into words and you can explain how your product or service will come along to resolve that problem for them, then something really special is going to happen. They are going to become a big raving fan of your business and your brand because you have been the person that has spoken to them. You have tapped into that frustration that they have. And it's so super important as business owners when we're communicating to our audiences that we really understand that. So what do I mean between external problems and internal problems? When I talk about external problems, I'm thinking about the surface issues. I'm thinking about those things that kind of lie on the top. What do I think that I want solved? And when I talk about internal problems, I'm talking about the deeper problems, the more personal fears, the frustrations, those things that perhaps your audience is not happy to communicate, but that they're feeling inside. Or perhaps it's unconscious to them. They don't quite understand what the problem is or how to articulate it. But if you can articulate it for them, then they will immediately feel a connection with you and with your brand. So when I'm talking about internal and external problems, when we were doing our Business Made Simple training, Dr. JJ Peterson talked to us about the analogy of cutting someone's grass. And so if you want somebody to mow your lawn, and that's how we talk about it in Australia, but I know that JJ referred to cutting the grass. If you want someone to mow your lawn, or if you want your grass cut out the front of your house, it's not just about that getting that done. getting that job done. For the person that wants the job done, for the customer, it could be about, well, I need my front lawn to look schmick because, I want to show pride in my house, and I want it to not get overgrown and be out of control, because that will give people in my street the impression that I also am, out of control and not, I don't have it all together. So the internal problem is that, that fear of what other people will think, that understanding that you want to be seen to have it all together and to be seen to be knowing what's going on. And that follows through and flows through into other aspects of your life. But the external problem is that I want the lawn mowed. I want the grass cut. So have a think about your product or your service and what you sell, and think about that internal versus external problems. Now, the customer is never likely to be going out into the marketplace and thinking, I really want someone to come in and solve the problem of me having it all together. They're thinking, I need someone to cut my grass. I need someone to mow my lawn. But if we can talk to that internal problem, if we are the person that's selling that service, then we know that we're going to get an instant connection with our customer. So have a think about your company, your business, your products and your services. Is it that you have an external problem that you've been promoting, but actually the customer that's coming to you has that internal problem that you can actually solve? And how can you change your communications in order to speak to that internal problem? Of course, we like to give you tangible takeaways as part of the How to Run a Successful Business and Still Have a Life podcast. So it's important for us to be able to give you a download with some prompting questions that will help you in this discovery of your internal and external problems of your customer. I'm going to give you a couple of questions now, and if you want the rest of them to pair with this, then you can get our download. You can get that at simplystacymorgan.com/downloads. Think about, these questions in order to understand your customers a little better. Think about what tasks that your customers dread doing as it relates to the industry that you're in. Think about what your customers' dreams are for themselves and for their family. Think about what confuses your customer currently when it comes to your industry. Are there things that your customers want to understand better but perhaps can't? And is that something that you can then offer as part of your communication? And what are the things that keeps your customer up at night? These internal problems, the internal problems are the things that keep you awake at 4 a.m. It's not the external stuff. It's not that I need to mow the lawn. Like, you can go, I need to mow the lawn. Okay, got that note, go to bed. It's the, if I don't mow the lawn and my grass gets overgrown and gets shady, what will other people think? And then if I don't have time to do that, then I'm also not having time with my family. If I'm not having time with my family, am I being a good mum? And then, it spirals. That's the 4 a.m. conversation that your imposter syndrome is having with you. And that's what we want to discover for your customers. We want to discover what that conversation is that they're having. And so thinking about some of these prompting questions is a great way to help you. That's just 4 of the 18 questions that I have that are taken from the Story Brand Framework. And I'm happy to give you that in the downloads. Of course, again, you can go to simplystacymorgan.com/downloads. But once you've had to think about all of those internal frustrations and ways in which you're going to communicate those to your customers, you will have a framework for yourself of how you can change the different parts of your communication strategy in order to be speaking to those problems. Once you start speaking to those problems, your customers are going to more quickly and more clearly identify with you, or kind of cancel themselves out. Also, you will not attract customers that are not going to be great for you. And I know that by asking yourselves these questions, you will uncover some really fascinating insights about your customers' internal problems, and then you can go about making changes. And of course, I don't expect you to go down and sit down immediately for 3 hours answer the questions and then go through every piece of collateral that you have, but maybe making a plan over the next month that, maybe every Thursday at 2:00, you'll do 30 minutes worth of rejigging of your communication. Maybe one week you can tackle the newsletter, the next week you can tackle the website, the week after that you can tackle some of your social media posts. But I guarantee that once you start talking to those internal problems that your customer is having, you will really start to attract those customers that you want, coming closer to your business and becoming lifetime customers. And you will start to turn away the people that aren't your people in the beginning and in the end also. Again, you can get those questions downloaded at simplystacymorgan.com/downloads. Today's episode, of course, has been brought to you by Simply Business Accelerator. In June, we are talking all about goals, setting goals. Of course, it's the middle of the year. We want to make sure that you end the year strong. So in Simply Business Accelerator, we'll be talking about how to get those goals aligned and also talking about getting a hold of your work-life balance. If you feel like the year has kind of taken off like a freight train and you're on board, but you don't quite know how to get off, or the hamster wheel seems to be going round and round, that's what we're going to be helping you with in Simply Business Accelerator for June. You can enroll now at simplystacymorgan.com. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a screenshot on your phone and post it to your Insta story and tag us. You can find me at Simply Stacey Morgan. And if you haven't already joined our Facebook group, we would love to have you in the How to Run a Successful Business and Still Have a Life Facebook group. We've got hundreds of business owners in there talking every day about the challenges that they're having in business, celebrating their wins with each other. And I totally encourage you to come along and join us for the fun. When all parts of a successful business are healthy and working together, you get fueled for profitable growth for the future. It's really important that you know how healthy your business is. And if you haven't taken our survey, you can do that at the Learn with Stacey tab on our website, simplystacymorgan.com. It's really important to us that we are being able to service the needs that you have in this community. So if you have ideas and thoughts and suggestions for topics, please make sure you get in touch with us. We would love to be able to answer your questions and be able to give you some content that's really going to be helpful for you in your business. We are here every week serving up bite-sized tips and tangible takeaways to help you take your business to the next level. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you next week.